What is and what is not Qigong? Where should we draw the line? That is going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. So as you may know, certainly if you've watched this channel for a while, you will know, there's huge diversity of Qigong practices. There's so many different Qigong practices out there in the world, and yeah, there's quite a lot of them that have a lot in common and maybe look somewhat similar to each other, but then there's ones that are really, really different, and you might be like, oh, what's that? I've never thought of doing that before. And it's wonderful to have so much diversity because it means there's so many different tools we can draw on and can be useful to us. It also keeps things really interesting, really fascinating to keep learning and exploring all of these different practices. Going beyond that as well, though, it's helpful, I think, to think about, well, what really is Qigong? Because one of the things I encourage people, certainly the people that I teach, whether that be in regular classes or in the more in-depth courses that we run, is to really take their Qigong. So Qi, energy, Gong, work or skill, their ability to be aware of their energy, to direct their energy, to understand the principles that influence and affect their energy, and take that not just from their specific Qigong practice sessions, but into their daily lives. And this can start in very small ways. It can start with things like being aware of how the energy is flowing through your body while you wash the dishes or while you vacuum the floor. But then over time, it can come into more and more aspects of your life. It can go beyond just how you're moving and things like that, but into how you interact with the food that you eat, or how you interact with other people, or your awareness of the energy in the environment around you and how you interact with that. And, just having that awareness and acting in different ways when we engage with people, with our environment, and so on, you might not necessarily immediately think of that as Qigong because you're not sitting in a posture or you're not moving in a certain way, doing a specific movement or a specific pattern of breathing or something like that. But it is working with energy and developing or using skill with that energy. So in many ways, I would say you could call that Qigong as well. So where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line? I think for me, because flip side of that, right? If you go back to someone who's doing a whole sequence of movements that maybe they've learnt, maybe they came from China, maybe a Chinese person taught them it, or they saw a Chinese person doing that because, Qigong coming from China, and they do all of these movements. And they'll probably get some, regardless, they'll probably get some benefit from doing those movements. But if they don't have any awareness of their energy or any directing of their attention, at least, towards their energy or some, because it's not even necessarily always the directing of their intention, but within the body, within the movement, but certainly some intention as part of that practice to develop their energy or harmonize their energy or so on, is that really Qigong? Or is it just doing movements? Is it just physical movement? Some people could argue that either way, because like I said, they'll get some benefit from moving their body, probably, unless they do it in a way that injures themselves, of course. There'll be some benefit, and that will naturally stimulate their energy to some degree. But if there's no sort of intention behind that awareness, is it really Qigong, or is it? Because at that stage we could say, well, absolutely everything is Qigong. If it doesn't at least require us to have some intention or attention on our energy, well, we're all doing Qigong all the time. I don't think that's really accurate. I think that's taking things too far because, again, part of the Gong part of Qigong is work or skill. We can be doing all sorts of things and not gaining any skill from it and not really working either. We're just allowing things to happen. So for me, I think that's where we draw the line. I tend to take, or I draw the line for myself and my own understanding anyway. I tend to take a pretty broad view of Qigong, in that really it's anything where we have intention to work with our energy, or we're paying attention to our energy. I think anything that does that can be considered a type of Qigong. And on that basis, just doing some regular press-ups, but with awareness of our energy and focusing on where it's going and making the energy flow smooth and harmonious, could be more accurately described as Qigong sometimes than someone doing a set of elaborate Chinese culture-based movements with no awareness of what they're doing or no intention to work with their energy. Yeah, so that's kind of how my definition works, that it's when we have that focus, have that awareness on our energy, and that can then apply to all sorts of different things. Of course, within the traditional practices, these have been cultivated, they've been developed with that intention. So there's lots of things specifically within them that can make them better or more effective ways to develop our skill with energy than maybe just doing press-ups or just doing something else. But to me, that's really the key, the awareness, the intention, because that then is likely to be feeding into that work or skill part of the equation. Of course, we have energy all the time. We certainly have chi all the time, whether we're aware of it or not, but we may not be working with it specifically or developing skill with it in some activities. Maybe you have a different point of view to this than me. That would be interesting. If you do, maybe put a comment below. It would be interesting to hear what other people think as well. Yeah, I look forward to maybe some people, or if you have the same opinion or just a different slant on that, maybe put something below. It would be interesting to hear from you. Cool. All right. I look forward to seeing you on another one soon.